Hello, friends, and welcome to the 75th Annual Hunger Games. Or is it Hunger Brains? Oh. Hi, my name is Robert, and I will be your host this evening. And my topic of discussion is cognitive change. Does the brain change while using social media? Now, I know that sounds like a lot, so for now, we'll just say this is your brain on drugs. So, let's start with some basics on the brain. The part of the brain that we'll be focusing on is the limbic system. The limbic system houses the hypothalamus, the hippocampus, and the amygdala. The hypothalamus regulates bodily functions and balances chemicals and hormones. So, for example, if you find yourself hangry or sleep deprived or been out of shape because you're trying to finish this project, you have your hypothalamus to thank for interpreting those signals and sending them out to your body. The hippocampus controls short and long-term moods, thoughts, and memories, and the amygdala handles fear and excitement, and it stirs that fight-or-flight sensation that we've all felt in some form or another. Another area that we'll be discussing is the prefrontal cortex, where learning and addictions are present, which is also the bread and butter of learning and memory. Now, for those of you who are wondering, am I addicted to social media? Well, the bad news is if you had to ask, you probably are. But the good news is the fact that you did means you're aware enough to notice a change in your behavior. More good news, addiction is simply a case of willpower where you can just focus and suddenly you're cured and you can resist your temptations. More on that later. Finally, these parts of your brain hijack you and control what happens when you scroll or like, hash, face, snap, scope, whatever. The point is, as you immerse yourself deeper and deeper into your online persona, your brain reflects your environment for better or worse. So, let's start with addiction. When we experience a pleasurable activity, which could range from any type of drugs, from prescription to psychoactive, being given money, having sex, eating good food, the brain releases dopamine from what's called the nucleus accumbens, or more commonly known as the pleasure center. When a person indulges in any drug, it causes a spike in dopamine. The chances that a person will become addicted to drugs or other pleasurable activities is directly tied to how quickly it produces dopamine, the power of the release, and the reliability of that release. To draw a comparison, the same triggering release of dopamine can be felt when using social media anytime someone likes, shares, comments, retweets, or generally makes a big or small deal about something we post. The more activity logged, the steadier the release becomes, and before you know it, an addiction is born, people.
I'm addicted to drinking paint.
My name's Kyle. I love dating grandmas.
I'm addicted to being Madonna.
And I'm addicted to eating mattresses.
It has recently been discovered that when monitored, the release of dopamine has been recently discovered that the release of dopamine also contributes to learning and memory. Those two functions play a key role in going from liking something to becoming addicted to it. Prolonged exposure causes the pleasure center to communicate with the prefrontal cortex and creates links between liking something and wanting it. That, in turn, motivates us to actively pursue whatever is giving us that pleasure. We could then equate that to what happens in the next stage of addiction, which is building a tolerance and needing our drug to create that high. The pleasure fades, but the memory and the desire to recreate that feeling remains. On top of that, the hippocampus and the amygdala play a part in keeping the memories and the environmental cues that cause the high in the first place, creating that intense craving and jonesing whenever we come across those same cues. Now, humans are naturally social animals, and the use of social media, while potentially isolating, provides a sense of social community. The sense of closeness triggers the release of a powerful neurotransmitter called oxytocin, not to be confused with OxyContin, which is a narcotic painkiller. Now, scientists call it the trust chemical, and it is less formally known as the social glue. It is also released when a mother is bonding with her babies, or when a community of people kind of build that trust and bond with each other. Now, if you don't take anything else away from that, take away the fact that we release oxytocin when we experience emotional contact with other people, most notably touch. When monitored, users experienced a surge in oxytocin and decreased stress levels. Our brains feel good when we use social media. We feel more generous, which leads to more positive output of content, which keeps us coming back and building in those extra layers of addiction. I confess myself, I am a ready-made junkie. I've even gone so far as to be disappointed whenever I log into BlazeView and I only see one notification or no notifications either after it's been a day or so. Arguments have been made that since we've become so accustomed to interacting and receiving casual, non-threatening feedback, we are building ourselves solely around the opinions of others. This leads to a fundamental question: with social media opening new pathways and enabling us to multitask, are we really able to focus on what we need? Does that help us? In the area of multitasking, your brain struggles with too many things anyway. What can be looked at as multitasking is just your brain randomly jumping from subject to subject with very little opportunity to focus on any given task at any time. Now, when we talk about the widespread adaptation of social media, we tend to only focus on the younger crowd because that's who the technology is geared towards. By now, we've established the fact that there are changes cognitively, from addiction to mood changes, emotional instability, social pain. But when we break it down among the age groups, let's say starting with teenagers, they're the most active, but they're not the most developed crowd. They're prone to like something or share or subscribe only if they see a good deal of support already there from the masses. In this decision-making process, whether to invest or not in the thing that has their attention, the frontal lobe is active. That isn't to say they can't think for themselves, but the frontal lobe just isn't fully developed yet. That is to say, they just need to cook a little longer, that's all. No big. Also, the plasticity levels can be affected because as we learn to respond to outside stimuli, my presentation is being stupid.
Ooh, you suck!
Why is no one ready?
The plasticity can be affected with the decision-making process because the brain learns how to think based on outside stimuli. When we experience or do new things, new connections and pathways between neurons are set up and that gets coded into our brains. Now, the brain can rewire itself to adapt to just about anything. So if we go to the other side of the spectrum, to older adults, they've seen studies of that using social media to combat the effects of cognitive decline, which takes the form in diseases like Alzheimer's and dementia. A study conducted with a group of older adults ranging from 60 to 92 found that the ones surveyed who started to use social media showed a significant increase in cognitive function, heightened sense of self-identity, and increased social activity.
Look at my dad.
In my opinion, with their incremental and overall minimal involvement, their social media presence is just the right amount for them to benefit from it.
Yeah, well, that's just like your opinion, man.
And that just leaves us, poor, middle-aged group, middle child us. Would you know that there's not a ton of research on us? I mean, let's say you're in the 29 to 45 age range, and that's being generous. There's just not a whole lot of information on what your brain is doing because, well, your brain is for the most part intact. And we have the rare luxury of coming in right between the social media boom of younger millennials and the older generation who had no exposure to it at all, both of which either benefit from social media or are the target audience and are being marketed to developed for in real time. So we just have to stay the course. Now let's talk about mental health for just a second. The study of the brain itself is still such a mystery, so that the same can be said of social media and the newness of it all. Some early warning signs have taken the form of depression, newly coined Facebook depression, nomophobia, which is a fear of being without one's phone, or no mobile phobia, phantom ringing syndrome, cyberchondria, which is just a hypochondriac on the internet, and phantom, I said that already. So I can tell you from basic experience that I'm also guilty of getting on the internet just to look up the most basic of symptoms and walking away thinking that I had an ulcer, a tumor, diphtheria, and 3 broken toes.
I'm dying. Help me.
There's also what's called the Google effect, which is particularly scary to me, but it's the mindset that the accumulated knowledge of all mankind up to the current day is in your pocket, clinging to 12% worth of power. Since it's all right there at your fingertips, the need and the desire to know and have that information has decreased. On the other hand, the question can be asked, are these serious things to worry about? Don't we need to just take some time and figure it out? On the other hand, with more of our lives being integrated to technology, will we have time to notice that the changes are even happening? With more and more of our social interactions happening online, a new generation's ability to read social and bodily cues diminishes. The body and the brain are malleable, though. The studies, when looked at through an MRI scanner, have shown the brain recognizes the same gratification and chemical release of the chemicals that we talked about. Now, you can only ask so much of naturally social animals faced with an abnormally antisocial/beneficial conduit. The brain can rewire itself to deal with just about anything. Given that we're in the infant stages of social media and the ungodly spreading of information, neuroscience will continue to map out brain function and any detours that might stand to do us harm. To wrap up, our brains have changed. Even if social media goes away, we are coded to naturally seek out the thing that we want from other people. Technology is by no means ruining our brains. We simply haven't found the connection that will allow us to utilize it and our maximum potential. Now, it's very easy to blame technology for the mental changes we experience that affect our social relationship. Deep down, the complexity of something so vast and advanced as the internet, while not lost on us, remains largely unprocessed because we don't understand it beyond its basic function. Because it seems miraculous to even exist at all, that void of understanding leaves a lot of empty space to be filled with whatever we want. Since technology remains a mystery to so many of us, we naturally relate problems we don't fully understand with a similarly tangible system that we don't fully understand either. It's natural to fear the unknown. In ancient Greece, the elders criticized the young youth for writing things down. They said it would decrease their ability to commit things to memory and affect the development of their brains. Not knowing how to contain and process something faster than it grows is by no means a bad thing. Like all things throughout mankind's experience, we just need time to catch up to the world as it unfolds in front of us. Thanks for stopping by, guys. This has been my presentation.